wish I had some music to start, but I don't have any music with me today. Anyway, welcome everybody. This is Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 313, which means it's 309 weeks in a row that we have been doing this. We're really excited about everything we do, and we always have great people on, and today is no different. It's just so much fun to have and to meet new people and to meet them through different ways. And you know, Dylan, we meet so many people online, and rarely do we get the opportunity to meet a lot of people in person. But as I've been meeting a lot of people. I know there's a couple of places where we can all meet, and basically conventions and stuff like that. Dylan Nonaka from Hawaii, team lead,
the Big Island,
right? Team lead, the agency team, number one team EXP in Hawaii, number 3 in the United States, Zillow Flex partner, and just a lot of different things that you're doing, man. Thank you so much for being on today. I know it's 6 a.m. by you.
It is, but I've been up for an hour and a half, so we're good to go. I got my workout in. I'm pumped up. Let's go.
Great, man. I was looking at when I got up this morning. I'm saying by Dylan probably went to bed when I got up. I got up at 4 o'clock, so he was.
That's about right.
You might have gone to bed then. Anyway, guys, we're gonna do what we usually do. We're gonna start with a quick video. Hit it, Nelson. Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. Yep, that's true. Here we are. We are with the Align team here in Northern New Jersey, and we are here to help as many agents grow their business as possible. And that's really what we want to do. It's about helping agents, and that's what Real Estate Talk TGIF is about. As I mentioned, this is episode 313, 309 weeks in a row. We've had extra episodes, a couple of those with John Cheplack, Tom Ferry, and Brent Gove, I believe was an additional one. But anyway, here we are. It's Friday, May 31st, 2024. I said we are in Hawaii today. Next week, we'll be in New Jersey. And after that, we're going to be in Paris, and we're going to be in Italy. How about that? We're traveling all over the world to do these things. But I'm so psyched today. I've got Dylan Nonaka. As I said, number 1 team EXP in Hawaii, number 3 nationwide. A lot of things about you really get me all psyched and passionate about what we're doing, as I always am. Discipline equals freedom. This is the saying and statement that you have used and I've seen. You know, I want to talk about different things today. You've been involved in so many things, politics, military, all these things. And thank you so much for your service. And here we are. But it's all about real estate, man. To get started, I got one question for you, and then we're going to ask you another one. Tell me, what does TGIF stand for? It's a trick question.
Well, the traditional definition is thank goodness it's Friday, right?
That is true. That's true. I've heard that, but that's not what we're talking about.
All right. What are we talking about?
It's thank God it's finale. Here we are. Dave Finale.
Even better.
It's all about us, man. Here we go. Dylan, you've been in the business a while. You've done a few other things. Tell me about your journey and where you started, you know, from maybe, I don't know, maybe there's not many people that go into high school, come out of high school, want to be a real estate agent or college. What was your journey like? Where did you come from to get to where you are today?
Yeah, that was definitely the case for me. I grew up here where I do business now in on the west side of the Big Island. And my mom had actually gotten into real estate right when I was about to graduate high school. So I didn't get to benefit from her successful real estate career because I was post my high school years. But I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after high school. So I didn't want to get stuck here working construction or in a hotel, which is kind of what kids do when they graduate. That's kind of the main industries. And
right.
I, at the time, didn't have the resources and didn't really like school very much. And I didn't want to go to college. And so I did the next best option, which was join the Marine Corps. I had an uncle that was in the Marines for like 25 years at the time, and my mom's brother. And so he sent a recruiter to come talk to me, and I just signed up. I didn't have a grand plan. It just seemed like a good third option. And like many things in my life, ended up being one of the best decisions that I made, even though it was kind of an accident. Just developed so much in those 4 years, learned about leadership, learned about hardship, ended my service with the invasion of Iraq. I joined in 99. So it was a very, peacetime for 20 years. And that wasn't, going to war wasn't really a thing that was on the horizon, but everybody knows what happened in 2001. And I was part of the first forces to cross into Iraq and into Baghdad later in the campaign. And So that was in March of 03. And then I ended up, my enlistment was done in August. So I came home right after we came home from Iraq. And then I went to college. At that point, I had the GI Bill. So I went into college, and that was a great experience. I met my wife during that time, and got into Hawaii government. I went through college politics. I got involved in the student government. I got involved in state government, and that ended up leading to a job working for the governor after college. And I did that for 3 years, and that led to a job working in the Honolulu City Council for a couple of years. And then I got into consulting and managing campaigns, and did that for like 10 years, and was relatively unsuccessful. I mean, it's some measure, from an outcome standpoint. I think the input standpoint, we were doing the right things and we're fighting the good fight, but was relatively unsuccessful in the grand scheme. And in 2015, I kind of reevaluated what I wanted to do in life, and had a conversation with my mom one day, and she said, "You ever think about doing real estate again? I want to slow down and transition towards retirement." And I said, "Probably not." I mean, I wasn't really interested in it. I had originally gotten my real estate license when I was in college, because she had forced me to help her take referrals on the other side of the island. I was going to college on the other side of the island. But came home that same night, and my wife said, "Will you ever think about doing real estate? I saw an ad in the paper about the licensing classes." And I said, "Did you talk to my mom?" And she said, "No. But these are the two smartest, influential ladies in my life." And I said, "You know what? I'll just go do the classes to reactivate my license, and we'll see what happens." Because I was taking some time off. I had ended the election cycle previously. I went to an Army school, so I was just kind of reevaluating what I wanted to do. And so I reactivated my license and just started going to work. I mean, without a real clear plan, and just showed up every day. And so as new agents, they ask, "What should I do to be successful?" You just go to work every day. That's it. Like, a lot of agents will get their license and then treat it as a side hustle, or kind of go to the beach when they don't have anything to do. And just from day one, I went to the office for 8 hours a day. And if I didn't have anything to do client-wise, I studied the contract. I figured out YouTube. I figured out how to send email campaigns. Like, I did things to build the business that would benefit me later on in my career, even though I didn't have a large database, or I didn't have a lot going on. And so that's how it started. I kind of didn't have another plan. It wasn't like I had this grand scheme and this blueprint of what I was going to do. I just started going to work every day.
All right. So you get your license back in 15, and then you start working. So
here's an important piece to this, is that when I was at this Army school before I came home, I read the 4-Hour Work Week, and it's by Tim Ferriss. And there's a lot of weird stuff in that, but there was a piece in that book, and I always take like the one biggest thing, when I read a book, I take the biggest takeaway away. And the biggest takeaway for me in that book was, he says the worst thing that we teach our kids, the biggest American fallacy, is do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Because the reality is, most of the things that we love to do in life do not generate us income. We're not professional basketball players. We're not professional surfers. We don't necessarily own a restaurant if we like to cook. Spending time with our significant other or our kids does not generate us income. But those are the things we truly love to do.
Right.
And so what he says is that if you can find a thing that provides you the time and resources to do the things that you love, you will then become passionate about that thing, and you'll become successful at it, because it's just a means to an end. And that's how I started to think about real estate. Was I passionate about doing real estate? Probably not. I mean, but after year one and making 150 grand my first year, I was like, you know what, this is something that's going to provide me with the flexibility to spend time with my kids who were little at the time, and the resources to live a comfortable life. And so that made me passionate, excited. To this day, it excites me to get up to go to work every day, because that's the way I view it.
So that's going to lead me to a couple of different questions. And one of them is, you mean you don't love real estate? I mean, you don't live for real estate?
No. I mean, that's not. I'm passionate about it, and I'm motivated to do it. But I can't say I love it like I love my kids, or I love my wife, or I love going to the beach on the weekends. I mean, it's a different type of love. I mean, so I think you really got to evaluate, what do you truly love to do versus what do you need to do the things that you love to do. And so, like I always joke, like, I think it's so hokey when people put in their real estate bio that, like, I love to find people their dream homes. It's like, yeah, do you really? Like, I don't know if that's like super true. I mean, maybe you do, but I think you like doing that because it feeds the things that you love to do. I think if you really evaluated it, love is a strong word to me, and
yeah, absolutely is. It absolutely is. I mean, here's an interesting part about what you're talking about is a lot of people think that, for me, okay, so I want to give you the example of me, right? So it took me many, many years to figure out what I love to do, right? I mean, I have the passion to do, I can do anything.
Mhm.
I can find the passion to do anything, right? But when I found the passion to get the time to do what I want to do, and those things, my family is always going to be number one. And as that moved, as my girls got older, both of my girls are in their 30s, families, starting families themselves, and I get to see grandkids now rather than, I can walk away from that. I went and saw my grandson last night. It was great. But the point I'm making is this. Now I know what I love to do aside from my family. I love to play golf. I love to work on my own home. And I'm not talking about big construction projects. I love to do things around it, make it better all the time. Real estate and what I do in real estate with coaching and doing other things, I now have the ability to be passionate about my real estate because it give me more time to play golf and to do the other things I love. So that is really cool. And everybody should take note of that, where if you're passionate about something else, find a way to be able to do it more or to be with more people to do it. Make sense?
And I think you probably coach to this all the time, Dave, is that the reality is I don't know anybody who actually loves the things that you have to do in real estate to be successful, right? Who loves driving a buyer around for 3 months and then they don't buy? Who loves going on tough listing appointments where the seller grills you? Like, people, those are uncomfortable, not fun things to do, right? Who loves doing the prospecting it takes? Who loves following up with people for 2 years before they actually buy? Like, I don't know anybody who loves doing those things, but those are the things you got to do in order to be successful. So you almost have to do things you don't like to do, right? That's the most, to me, the most successful real estate agents are the ones who do the things that are uncomfortable, that nobody likes to do. And that's what makes them successful. Is you don't have to love those things, but you have to love the outcomes.
Right, exactly. And that's going to go right into something we talked about earlier in the week, was about your schedule, right? So
Yep.
One of the things that I'm always working on with agents that I work with on a daily and weekly basis is, show me your schedule. Let's see what you're doing on your schedule, right? And it's not so much that everything needs to be so exciting about your schedule, but it needs to be to a point where it's exciting enough for you to go do it, and then it gives you that time to do what you got to do, which makes our schedule boring to a point.
Yes.
And it could be, right? Talk to me about your schedule and how it works out for you.
Yeah, I aim to have an extremely boring, predictable life. That is, to me, a successful week is when everything that I plan to do that week happens the way it should have happened, and there was no surprises and nothing pops up and blows up my schedule. I can't say that I'm 100% successful at that because things happen in life. You can't avoid it. But in most cases, like, I know what I'm going to be doing 8 Mondays from today. I mean, the Monday schedule is very set. It's sacred. It's full of meetings. Every Monday we have a transaction meeting, an agent attraction meeting, a new agent meeting, a database meeting. Like, we do things back to back to back on Monday, but the team understands that that's part of their routine. Is Mondays is our day to plan for our business for the rest of the week and touch base on the things that are important.
Right.
And so whatever you're doing throughout the week, I mean, you have to have those time. And I don't like time blocking. I like time prioritization. So if you commit to doing 2 hours of prospecting a day, 5 days a week, and you miss one day, that means the next day you got to do 4. It doesn't mean that goes away because your schedule got blown up and you didn't have the opportunity. You still are committed to doing that thing. And it's just like exercise. If you commit to exercise 5 days a week and you miss a day, that means you got to do it 2 times a day for, in the future, or on the weekends. If you want to take the weekends off, you don't get Saturday off anymore. So you want boring predictability, because that definitely, the outcome is success.
Yeah, what I always work on, I do work on time blocking, and after our conversation, I started giving that a lot of thought about time allocation, time prioritization. But one of the things I like people to understand is I believe that time management is bullshit, because you can't manage time. You can't stop it. You can't say, wait, hold that minute. You can't rewind it, right? This is not a basketball game. This is not a movie. This is not anything on Netflix. You can't stop. But with the allocation and the prioritization, you can kind of monetize it, where you can make it work for you so that you make absolutely more money, because you're being careful with how you're spending it. So the time monetization has 2 meanings. Number one, how you spend the time, and when you spend the time allocating it properly, you can absolutely make more money, therefore monetize. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. And even more important than that is effort blocking, not time blocking. If you have a task that requires effort, if you block that into your schedule, and it doesn't necessarily have to take 2 hours. It could take 1 hour, but now you've got that thing done. I think about this like from a content. We talked about social media content. People are always like, how do you put out so much social media content? It's just I have a deliberate time block, but then it's an effort block. So I know I need to put out 4 videos on YouTube a week, and I need to put out 20 short form videos on social media a month. And so I can do that in an hour or two. If I just shoot all the content and I create everything, I can do that in an hour or two. So I just got to do that once a month, but it's an effort. It's an effort, not necessarily a time block. So I know it's just got to get done. Sometimes it maybe takes 3 hours because we're going to do something on scene, or it's going to be a little bit more complicated. But I know at a minimum, if I just focus my effort for 1 to 2 hours, I can create enough content for an entire month. But I just got to focus on doing that, right? And so it's the outcome that matters, not necessarily the time that you put into it.
Yeah, and the interesting part about what you're saying is that, the content thing, people always say, well, how am I going to get time to do it? How am I going to do this? Look, you and I have been doing content for a long time. I've been doing video for 15 years. So I have actually transitioned from doing, off the cuff, off the top of my head stuff to actually writing down scripts. Yes, truth be told, for a little bit of it, I do use AI. But for most of it, it's coming out of here with different ideas. And so do you actually sit down, you create the script, you create what you're going to talk about, and then you just do all the videos all at once? Is that how you do it, one day a month?
Yeah, my process is really simple. I have a notes app on my phone, and throughout the days and when I do business, questions come up. Agents ask me questions, deals create questions, deals create issues, and I just take notes. And after a couple of weeks, I have a ton of notes on things I can talk about. And so it's either agent advice or it's talking about something real estate related, some type of real estate advice for our clients. And so I just let the market drive that. Like if in our normal course of business, like you don't really have to come up with any specific ideas because the business is going to tell you what you need to answer, right? So that's kind of my process. Is I just take notes, and then once a month or once every 2 to 3 weeks, I'll probably sit down and shoot. I'll just take the whole list. And again, people overthink this. Yep. Wherever I'm at, I have two, a studio at my house, a studio in my office. I spent, I spent the money to set that up, so it's nice and easy. It's comfortable. I don't have to think about it. It's just like hit record on my laptop, and everything's good to go. I don't care if I have the same shirt on for 17 videos. Nobody cares. Nobody, you don't have to. Obviously, I don't have to change my hair, but it's like just create it and then put it out there, and don't overthink it, because I think people put all these mental barriers in place. That the lighting's not perfect, or I don't want to do the same shirt 3 times. It's like, never mind any of that stuff. Just do it.
So yeah, the interesting part about that is like I was that person that carried 5 shirts and 2 sport jackets around with me to change it so it looked good. And now it's like, okay, I still do that a little bit. But when we talk about content, Dylan, since we're on that subject now, content for me is like, okay, so the other day I know I'm going to be traveling a little bit, and I want to make sure that all my content is done for 2 months. So, my assistant and I have been working on building what we have to do. And so one day last week, I said, okay, so I need to do 2 sets of 4 video for 2 different accounts. So that's 16 videos. And I'm saying, okay, I'm going to do some on this, I'm going to do some on that. But you said, let the market drive your content. So what did I do? I had 3 top agents do more than 20 million a piece in my room at that time. And I said, guys, I need content from all of you. Well, what do you mean, Dave? I said, what's the biggest thing in your way today? I got consistency. I got the market. I got all these things. So each comment gave me 4 videos. Yeah. So it's like really simple. If you're not doing notes like you are, and I do that, and sometimes I forget about it, it's really simple because you let the market drive your content. And leads to another one. One of my favorite saying I saw recently at your place, right behind you, the other side: discipline equals freedom. You're talking about your schedule, Dylan, and you're talking about doing this video in one day, and you've actually, without even trying, you've planned all your content through your notes app on your phone. And Dylan, what's really cool is discipline equals freedom. And why is that cool to me? Because it actually allows you to lose that anxiety that we all feel from time to time. And because we're disciplining ourselves to do what we got to do to make sure that we can do our passion stuff. Talk to me about that saying and how you apply it.
Yeah, I ripped that off from Jocko Willink. The book is Extreme Ownership. It's an amazing book on just leadership and mindset and the way Navy SEALs do what they do and how it applies to our business world. So if you need a book recommendation, definitely read that. But it just resonated with me because a lot of times people think discipline means less freedom, or they think restriction. They think of discipline in the sense of how we're a kid and we have, like, if we're in a really strict disciplined household, we don't have a lot of freedom. But that's really the wrong way to think about it, because if you can apply this to everything in life, if you are disciplined, and this is one of my practices, is I will exercise 5 days a week and intermittent fast very strictly for 5 days a week, the weekdays. And on the weekends, I can have dessert, I can drink a couple beers. Like, I don't feel any restriction on the weekends because I had the discipline in the previous 5 days in order to allow me some freedom on the weekends. I think about discipline in your finances. If you're financially disciplined for 10 to 15 years, you can really live for the remaining 30, 40 years of your life very in freedom. You don't have to work anymore if you're really smart about the way that you are, really disciplined about the way you handle your finances. If you're very disciplined about your time, I probably don't work more than 6 hours very often. Like, I have a very disciplined 6-hour work block. I go to the office before 8 and I'm usually leaving by 2:30 or 3 at the latest. And I don't work in the evenings. I don't work on the weekends, but it's because I have very disciplined time and effort when I am working, where I'm not messing around. If I'm at work, I'm actually working. I'm not scrolling Instagram. I'm not small talking with people in the office. And so if you're disciplined, you just have more freedom. And so if you think about life in that way and design your routines around that and your workflow around that, I think it's a lot easier to create the kind of outcomes you want.
So I want to take the 6-hour workday. I want to take the discipline, and I want to talk about something that I've always seen in my career of owning a brokerage. I was with the brokerage that had a colored gold. We won't talk about the name. It was Century 21, but we won't talk about the name. Anyway, one of the things I noticed was that you would go to conventions, you'd go to events. Well, they only did conventions and one leadership thing. We do events all over the place, all the time. And you would hear these big top producers, these big top company owners talking about how they work 8 hours a day and they have 85 assistants and they have this system and that system, but they never tell you how they got there, and they never tell you anything about the system. And if you want to talk to them, to ask them the questions, they will be very cursory with you. They won't give you a lot of information because they think they're giving something away. So all that being said, I want to ask you how you got to the 6 hours a day and how you did that, what you had to do to build your business as you moved forward, and how did you get to being, your number 3 team in EXP in the country? That's pretty huge, man.
It's amazing. It's mind blowing. But this is a great question. I love it because people, we do these talks, and it's like you see where you're at, and you don't see what got you there. And
I want to know some detail on how you get there. We got great shit to talk about.
The way I got to, and it's completely related to discipline equals freedom, is the way I got to 6-hour workdays is I did 12-hour workdays. And so in the beginning, the first 2.5, 3 years of building our team, I was producing, 15, 20 million a year myself. And then I was also creating the resources and systems to build the team. So I was working double plus spending my own money in order to build the team and the processes and the resources. And so you don't get here by I think people want to do a team and, want to grow this big organization because they think it's like they're going to make all this money and it's going to be so easy and they can do less. Really, you work way more and spend way more money before you get to a point where it's profitable and you can work less. But that's what it was I was producing at a high level as a realtor, plus leading the team and building the resources and systems. But the systems is what it takes. And what I tell people is you just got to pick one thing a week. And if you want to be able to scale your organization and you want people to do things the way that you do it, that's the things that you do that are successful, the only way to scale that is you have to write it down. That's the simple answer, is you have to write everything down. And again, that takes time. It takes discipline to do that thing. But if you write a process down, if you write your process down very detailed in a standard operating procedure, now you can give that to a brand new agent. I get brand new agents that sell 15 homes their first year out of the gate, not knowing anything and with very minimal guidance, because we have videos, we have checklists, we have standard operating procedures, we have resources, we have templates. We've built all of these things that a brand new agent can take and not have to rebuild the wheel. They don't have to start from scratch. But you as the leader or the builder of this has to take the time to do that, and you have to have the discipline. Everybody says like, I don't have the time, I'm so busy, I'm selling 30 homes a year.
That's bullshit.
Cool, but you're never going to get beyond selling 30 homes a year if you don't figure out how to spend the time to scale yourself and to build the resources for other people. So that's the big one. And I literally have a list of things if you want to get started, on stuff that you need to start working on, because that's the key to the game, is you have to write everything down.
So I want to hit a couple things there. I want to get to writing it down, but I want to tell everybody that says I don't have the time, I could never do that, time is so valuable, all this other stuff. I'm going to tell you all right now, you're all full of shit. It just means that you don't want to do it. When someone says they don't have the time, it means they don't want to do it. They're not making the time. They're not disciplining themselves. There's that word again to get in that. The other thing that I want to make a point of is, whether anybody agrees with this or not, I believe it works. It works for me. When we talk about writing things down, I mean using this and this. Here's why. Writing is the doing part of thinking. It allows you to really put it out on paper and put it out. Whether that's what you meant or not, it doesn't matter. My point is really simple. When you write stuff down, you're creating. You're downloading from your head, and it actually is going to give you more room to create more and more and more. But building those systems, man, that is the most important thing there is. You know. So, okay. So you start going through the business, you start building your business, and you're building your systems that are working for you through writing stuff down. And then you change companies.
And let me comment on that. That's what's important. Is it started with me, right? I didn't have this big vision to like build a 100-person sales team. The first system I built was a contract reference document. So when I first started 2015, I'd go to the office every day, and I figured I better learn how to write a contract. And so I asked my mom for the last 10 contracts she wrote, and I looked through all of them, and then I started figuring out, okay, so in this paragraph, it's always 10 days. Cool, I can make a template that's 10 days for seller's disclosure every single time. And there's certain paragraphs that are variable. So it's like, oh, this is like, if it's financing, it's this. If it's cash, it's that. And so I created a Google Doc that had paragraph by paragraph, a cut in, an explanation or a reference to the term. And that has turned into actually something that like our state has adopted, our state organization has adopted that, because that's something you can give a brand new agent, that they can now write a contract really well, and a really high quality contract, because you give them a reference. But I did that for me just so like I could figure it out, and I wouldn't have to burden someone else, or if I had to write a contract at 10 o'clock at night, I didn't have to call a broker. So it started with just the stuff I needed to be successful. And then I recognized, hey, I can just give this to somebody else, and that they can be successful, and give it to 100 people, and they can all be successful. And so it's got to start with you.
Oh, 100%. I mean, one of the things that I've done is I created videos on how to do a contract. So I give that to all of the people I'm working with that are new agents. And it's like, if I've given it to 100 people, only one has had a problem with it. And the only reason she had a problem with it because she didn't want to do it. So, I mean, that's the only reason. Everybody else, this is great, Dave. And they would go through the video, they could rewind it. So
I had an agent tell me one time my contract video was boring. And I'm like, hey, bro, it's not for entertainment. It's for help you write a contract. This is not for your entertainment value.
Yeah, you're monotone. You're in the video. It's just really cool. All right, so there's a lot of things that you do. You're a fantastic leader, as I said. You're the team leader, broker in charge of the agency team in Hawaii, and you lead in certain ways. And when you speak, it seems that people listen. I'm going to date myself. I don't know if anybody ever heard of E.F. Hutton. That's beside the point. It was a TV commercial 30, 40 years ago. Anyway, you talked about, I'm going to go through two different videos you did. And one was Care Bear or vampire. Talk to me about the premise. What's a Care Bear? What's a vampire? And how does that affect agents and what they should be doing?
So the premise is, are you somebody people want to be around? And this applies to everything we do, especially from a leadership standpoint. But even when you answer the phone, I tell you, just when you answer the phone, if it's a lead that's calling in, answer it with a smile, answer excited, answer like this person's about to write you $1 million check, because they will feel your energy through your voice and through the phone. Versus if you answer the phone and think, oh my goodness, this is another person that's going to run me around and not going to actually buy anything and waste my time, they're going to feel that energy and they're not going to want to do business with you. So from a leadership standpoint, you just have to show up that way every day. I mean, like, no matter what I got going on in life, no matter, what kind of day it's been, if you walk into my office, want to talk to me, I'm going to be excited to see you. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be uplifting, and I'm going to be somebody you want to be around. Like, I want you to come to me because you need a kick in the butt. You need some motivation. You need some, a reason to go out there and do a thing that you don't want to do. And so that's just the way I think. If it's a practice. It's not something that you're born with, right? It's something you have to be mentally conscious of every day. Is how are you showing up? What kind of energy are you putting out there? And I use the Care Bear, right? The Care Bears shoot positive love and energy out of their chest to everybody else, or vampires will bite you in the neck and suck the life out of you. And you know who those people are. Like, you don't want to be a vampire. You don't want to be the person that comes in the room and they're like, oh my goodness, Dave is here again. What is he going to ask me for? What kind of problems is he going to start complaining about, right? And if you're that person and you don't have the self-awareness to understand that you're that person, no one's ever going to want to help you. No one's ever going to want to lead you. No one's ever going to want to follow you. So you have to be extremely conscious of your energy.
Yeah, it's really important as a leader too, to know how to work with those types of people as well, or you don't work with them. You say, you know what, I choose. I think maybe you should go somewhere else. I've had coaching clients like that, and people say, oh man, you got that person? I say, yeah, they're going to be great. They're going to be fine, because it's just like, I mean, look, patience is they always say patience is a virtue. Patience is very important, along with being disciplined when you're working with people. I mean, that's one of the things that I know that you've been able to do and I've been able to do and move forward. So, okay, so here's another one, right? A lot of people believe, I'm going to tell a quick story about it before we get to the actual conversation about it, is a lot of people think that they do business by referral, right? And I want to tell you what this typically is from most real estate agents I talk to. I talked to a former coaching client the other day, and he started saying, well, I do a lot of referral business. And I said, well, how many deals will you do this year? He said, 6. I said, oh, okay, good. How are you doing business by referral? And the answer was, well, I this person came, I got this lead, and I did a great job for them, and they gave me their sister and stuff. To me, that's referral by accident, right? Because you're actually doing a good job, no question there, but you're doing referral by accident. Could you imagine, this is what I say to those agents, is could you imagine, and all you out there listening to this know what I'm talking about. Could you imagine if you actually treated the people you already knew like that? What would happen? And that comes from that thought process, comes from another video of yours I saw that you got to do deals to get deals. Deals have babies. So give me an explanation. Talk about that and expand on what I was talking about just now.
So this came from when I first got started as a brand new agent. In the cubicle next to me, it was a longtime agent that was about to retire, and she had a ton of business in the south part of our island, very low dollar, $30,000 lots, $15,000 lots that she needed to offload. She had like 25 listings she needed to offload when she retired. And nobody in the office wanted to do it because they were too good to go and work, drive an hour to go sell a $30,000 lot. And I said, Ann, I will take all of them. Give them all to me. I'll take care of all of them for you. And I did that. And so like year one, I did like 20 transactions just off of these little tiny, I probably did like 4 million in volume, but it was like 20 transactions. But I did a ton of deals, and one, it gave me a ton of experience, but two, it turned into a ton of referrals, right? Because I did those deals, they had babies. And then the next year I got 20 more deals out of all of those deals. And so I tell agents all the time, never mind figuring out, how am I going to sell that $1 million house or worrying about sales volume. I'd rather you worry about units and just do as many transactions as you can possibly do, or be involved in as many transactions as you can be involved in. Help somebody be a transaction coordinator, help somebody be a showing assistant, even if you don't get paid very much, because just the momentum of doing deals, even if it doesn't directly come out of that deal as a referral, creates more deals. It's just gravity. It's a law of nature. And so you just want to do as many units as you possibly can. Never mind the split, never mind the referral fee. We have amazing programs amongst our team that the splits are not great because we're paying a referral fee and you're paying a team split. But if the agent can do 10 or 15 deals their first year, they're rocket shipped up. And by year, one of my biggest problems now is my rock star brand new agents who do 10 or 15 deals their first couple of years from our lead programs. in year 3 have so much of their own business that they don't really need to take team leads anymore. And so I'm like, man, you're like my best converter, So it's like,
Right,
but
right.
the only way you get to the point of doing your own business is you got to do business. And if you have no sphere or you don't have a way to lead generate, you just have to figure out, get access to somebody who does. And that can totally rocket ship your career and create a sustainable business going forward.
Well, Dylan, that's the whole thing about, if you get it like your Zillow Flex, right? But you're not giving those to new agents. I mean, we have what we call pond leads.
I do. I
right?
love Zillow Flex. I think that's a mindset shift that a lot of people
Need to make, right.
Yeah.
Here's the
But we have really good training. We have really good resources, a ton of engagement for supervision. And that's a primary lead source for brand new agencies. Is I call it paid training. Like, you get out there and you get to train, be in the car, doing the job. The only way you learn the business is to do the business. You're never going to learn it in a classroom or behind a computer screen. You have to be out there on the road, going on appointments, talking to clients, and then you'll learn it. The business will educate you. So I love Zillow for brand new agents.
So one of the things I wanted to say with that is that one Zillow lead that you actually convert could lead to anywhere from 2 to 6 other deals, maybe more, depending on the life of that and the lifetime of that client. So that's so very important when that's happening. I mean, is to do those deals, do a really great job on them, and then remember that you actually know a lot of people. So if you're that nice to them, you might get the same way. So over the last year, there's been a lot of stuff going on in our business, and it's going to change. Every state in the United States has a different process for working with buyers and sellers. In New Jersey, up until 99, we didn't have any agencies. So it was the wild west, east, whatever you want to call it. And then we started worrying about buyer agents and seller agents, disclosed dual agents and transaction agents. That's New Jersey. Talk to me about what's going on, how NAR is relating to you and your business, and what you're doing for that eventual change that we know is coming, and how we're going to do business come August.
It's a big change for us. We always had buyer representation agreements available to us. I would say less than 5% of agents actually use them. So it was a standard business practice just to be a buyer's agent, go show people around and not have any contractual agreement with them. So there's a lot of fear and apprehension in our market about how do we go about doing this. And so I've been putting a lot of time and energy into training around it and preparing our team for the upcoming changes when it is going to be required. But what I'm finding is, which is very interesting, this is great about having a team, is the senior agents, the experienced ones, are having way more brain damage about this than the brand new agents. The brand new agents, since October, November last year, when this was coming, any brand new agent that got onboarded, we just train them that this is what you do. Part of the process is you get a buyer's rep agreement signed, and they're doing it at 3%. And so even if the seller's offering less, which the sellers are still offering commissions in the vast majority of cases, 99+% of the time, they're getting the additional piece of the commission because they've done a good job in presenting the buyer's rep agreement to them. And the short story here, and I know I'll give away that you're gonna put in the comments, but the short story with buyer's rep agreements, and I think it's the easiest way to get over the fear and apprehension of it, is you have to focus on a process. It's not, you don't lead with compensation. And I think that's what a lot of agents think is, I got to immediately say, Dave, here, you got to sign this agreement and you're going to pay me 3%. If you lead with that, you're going to get a ton of objections and you're going to lose a lot of the time. So what you want to start with is a very thorough discovery process. What are your hopes and your dreams, Dave? I got to get to know exactly what you want to do. Why are you looking at property here on the Big Island? And we have 2 pages of questions that you can ask to build that consultation process. Then you got to have a value proposition. You have to clearly articulate why you should work with me and my team, because if there's no perception of value and how we're different and how we're going to do a great job for you, you're not going to want to pay for it. And then after those 2 things are done, now we have the conversation about compensation. But the most important piece about that is framing the outcome. And this is an important thing in any difficult or uncomfortable conversation, is you have to frame the conversation in terms of most likely outcomes, because if you don't, people will make assumptions, they'll jump to conclusions, and then you're going to get a ton of crazy objections. So the way that we handle this is we lead with, in the vast majority of cases, sellers will pay for our compensation. I believe that's going to be the case going forward. I believe good listed agents will continue to articulate why sellers should do that. So no matter what happens in August, in the vast majority of cases, and we'll have market data to back this up when the time comes. Like right now, if you look in your market, how many sellers are offering 0% commission? It's probably in the single-digit percentages of all the listings in your MLS, right?
Yeah.
And so in the vast majority of cases, right, 95, 98, 99% of the time, the seller's offering my compensation. You don't have to worry about it, Dave. No problem. It's not going to cost you anything out of pocket. In very few cases, they may not be, but we're going to do a couple of things for you before that becomes the case. We're going to either negotiate it into the offer in terms of a concession, credit to you, which then will cover your compensation, or we can factor it into the sales price. So your overall net cost of the home is going to be the same, regardless if you pay for it or the seller pays for it, because we're negotiating it into the sales price. And if in the very, very rare case, and you will know upfront, and I'll be very transparent about it, that none of these things are available to us, you may have to pay for our compensation at closing as part of your closing costs, but you're going to be 100% clear on that. It's not going to be a surprise. You will know that before you make an offer. We will provide you a net sheet so you know what your closing costs are going to be. And if you're comfortable with that, then we'll move forward with an offer. And if you're not, we won't. So are you comfortable with that, Dave? Right? And now I've framed the whole conversation and showed you that it's so unlikely that you're going to have to come out of pocket, that you're going to be comfortable committing to it. And then there's no problem, because we framed the conversation properly. But always think about, am I framing the conversation in a way that starts from the end and then works our way back, right? Most likely outcome. And then if that doesn't happen, what are the other options before? Because if we lead with the most unlikely outcome, that you will have to come out of pocket, you're going to object all day long.
So in other words, what you're doing, so I'm going to go to the listing side really quickly to use it as an example. Is one of the things that I always talk about is I give an agent, say, okay, so we're learning a listing presentation, right? I'm going to give you two choices. You can go to the presentation and say, okay, this is the price that I've come up with for the house, and then go through the comps. Or you can go through the comps and talk about how you arrived at the price. Yep. And you're giving them that price with a net sheet. I want to get in that too, right? Mm-hmm. This way, what you're doing is you're giving the price, quote unquote, at the end of the buyer presentation, after you've framed everything that could happen and put it all into perspective, and then you're giving a net sheet for the buyer. Now, truth be told, I think 50 to 70% of the agents are scared shitless of doing net sheets for their sellers because they don't want to show them that, oh, you're getting 15,000 or whatever you're getting, plus all the other stuff, right? Talk to me about, is that correct? And talk to me about the net sheet for the buyer.
Yeah, I think a buyer needs to understand, right? At the end of the day, there's going to be closing costs. There's going to be appraisal costs. There's going to be home inspection costs. There's going to be title and escrow fees. There's going to be all of these things. And potentially one of your closing costs could be commissions. I'm going to do my best to negotiate that and other costs. If you need a credit to buy down your interest rate or a credit to pay for the appraisal, we can negotiate all those things. But that's what I'm good at. I do this all day long. I do this for hundreds of families every year. This is why I'm going to save you money. I'm going to provide you with value, right? So showing them that, hey, this could be the worst case scenario is this, but I'm going to 95% of the time that we never get there, and you don't have to worry about it because I do all of these things. And that way it puts their mind at ease and they don't have to worry about, I'm going to have to come up with an extra 20 grand to pay you because and here's one more perspective on this,
go ahead,
which I've been really hammering with agents on it, is do the market analysis in your market. I ask agents this all the time and they don't know the answer, right? How many transactions happen in your market that are low or no down payment loan transactions, right? Where the buyer has no additional cash. And so go do that. I know in my market, it's 12%. So at 12% of the time, it's a USDA, VA, FHA loan, some kind of low down payment program. So 88% of the time, it is either cash or a conventional financed transaction. These buyers can afford compensation, right? These buyers are financially stable. They're going to, if we provide value, they're going to understand the value of paying if they have to. So we're worrying about a fraction of the business. The 12% we're going to have to deal with. Those are the ones we're going to have to negotiate hard for. Sellers are going to have to understand if they want to do a deal with those folks, they're going to have to come up with some
money.
What's the word? The concession. They're going to have to come up with a concession, right? Or credit. And so that's another thing is I tell agents, don't assume none of your buyers can pay for your compensation. That is a wrong assumption. 88% of the time, they absolutely can. A savvy cash buyer who's going to pay $1 million for a house in cash they pay for professional advice all the time. This is what they do. They didn't get $1 million in cash because they were cheap, and they don't have a financial advisor, and they don't have a tax guy, and they don't have attorneys that they pay for advice. They will pay you. You just have to provide your value proposition to make sure that they clearly understand what you're going to do for them.
What's the reason an agent will have trouble doing this? Guts?
It's mindset.
Preparation? Mindset?
It's preparation, definitely practice. I always say, don't practice on your clients. The worst thing you can do is practice on your clients.
Right.
I don't think there's any reason why you can't do it. Here's another great way that I've seen, that I've learned from brand new agents, is when they have the 3% buyer's rep signed and the seller's offering 2.5%, they say, hey, Dave, good news. You only got to pay 0.5%. The buyer's going to cover the other 2.5%. And the buyer's like, really? Wow, that's awesome. And they get the additional 0.5% because it's framing, right? You framed it as good news. You didn't frame it as, well, Dave, I really hate to bring this up with you, but the seller's only offering 2.5%, so you're gonna have to pay another 0.5%. Are you okay with that?
So cool. I mean, it's so simple, Dylan. I mean, shit. I mean, think about this, right? I mean, it's a lot easier than everybody thinks it's going to be. And what do you think about when it comes to this, the buyer representation things and everything we've got to go through and the changes we got to make, which I think is good for our business, good for our industry? Is there going to be a percentage of people trying to get around this? Do you think you think this is going to thin out our membership at all as far as NAR is concerned?
I think so, because the people who don't want to be professionals and don't want to create mastery around this are going to have difficulty. And my biggest fear for agents is the individual agent. We've been going towards the team model for a long time, and there's a lot of people that have like a bad attitude towards the team model. But I'm just going to tell individual agents right now, if you're an individual agent and you're competing against one of the agents on our team, your value proposition versus ours is going to be so night and day worse that it's going to be very hard for you to win. And I say this because as a team, we lead with the team value proposition. So Dave, if you're going to work with me to buy property in the state of Hawaii, I can show you property anywhere in the state within two hours. Anywhere you want to see property on Kauai, we can do that. Maui, we can do that. And not only can we do that, but I have a professional in that market that is an expert in the type of property you want to buy. You want to buy short-term vacation rental? We got somebody for you. You want to buy a farm and land property? We got somebody for you. You want to buy a vacant land lot that you can build on? We got somebody for you that. So by you working with us, you're not just working with me and my abilities, you're working with our entire team. If you want to see property on the weekends and I'm not available, I'm going to have one of my teammates. We're going to service you no matter what time of day it is, what day of the week it is. We have 6 experienced brokers who can help you solve problems. They've seen everything under the sun in terms of Hawaii real estate. I mean, I have a list of the value proposition is ridiculous. And if you compare that to an individual agent who, may have been in the business a year or two, a smart buyer who's interviewing for representation, I mean, the contrast is going to be night and day. So that's really the two things you got to create mastery around having the conversation about representation. But 2, you got to have a large value proposition, and being on a team, I think, provides you with that at a scale which is much greater than whatever you can provide on your own.
I want to have a light bulb go off in the ones that aren't with teams, and you actually are a member of a team. If you didn't know this already, shame on you. Your brokerage, that's what these teams are. Teams are brokerages within brokerages, plain and simple. If your brokerage is not supporting you in the manner that the team leader will support the members of the team, you got to go somewhere else.
You're on the wrong team.
If you want to be a solo agent, that's great, but you still have the brokers that you've got to be responsible to. Mm-hmm. If you're getting 100% commission, God bless you. You really are out all by yourself. That is just the way I look at teams today, because I had a brokerage. I know what I tried to do with the brokerage. I tried to do everything all these great teams, including you, are doing. I wasn't able to get the buy-in because, oh no, I'm good. I can do it on my own. I just want more money. Okay, what are you going to do with that money? And people would leave to go to these 80%, 90% brokerages. And I would never say it to them because I thought it wasn't right. It was nasty. I'd say, well, 90%, 100% of the deals you're doing, which is 0, is still 0. Right? With a team, there's just so much support. It's what brokerages should be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get off my soapbox there. Here we are. We've talked about a lot of different stuff. The buyer compensation situation is very, very important. When you've got new agents coming in to your team, Dylan, what should be their priorities as they get started? And agents that are falling off a little bit with production, that kind of lost a little bit. We're in markets that are so different than any agent, any regular agent that's been in the market, in the business for 10, 15 years has seen, or a new agent trying to get into this market. And the agents that became agents during COVID really were order takers. So what would be, that's a lot I just gave you, but what would be the priorities for those people to get restarted and energized and started?
Just focus, just refocus and engage as much. This is again, if you don't have an opportunity to engage because you don't have a brokerage who is providing with training, providing role playing, providing resources, then that's going to be difficult. But one of our goals as an operation is we have tons of engagement. Literally 5 days a week, there's something that you can attend on a team level. There's additional stuff on the state resource level. There's national trainings that happen all the time. So there's no reason that you're not engaged with doing something, because it's when you're at home with your head in the sand, being depressed, if you're doing nothing, then nothing is going to happen. And so part of it is just creating momentum by being engaged. The other thing I'm extremely focused on right now, and it's related to buyer's rep, but anybody can do this, even a brand new agent, is you have to create a web presence, a social media presence that creates clients in the marketplace that you don't know exist. And so this is such people are missing this. I mean, there's such a lack of engagement online where, like, you found me online, Dave. Like, is there any doubt that I'm a credible person that knows more about Hawaii real estate and leading a team than anybody in the world? I mean, like, I've created a persona online that you have no doubt. If you're an agent that needs leadership, you know who I am. You've sampled everything I have to put out there in the universe. It's already there. It's very easy for me to recruit you as an agent because I don't have to really sell you on anything. The same is true of clients. I've been doing YouTube for years. If you look for expert real estate advice online, you will find me, and I don't have to convert you. I don't have to have a great value proposition conversation because you already had it with me online. And so even if you're brand new and you haven't even done one deal, if you're putting content out, talking about different parts of the contract, talking about market reports, neighborhood tours, if you're creating a persona of expertise, it's going to make your life a lot easier, and then clients will start coming to you and you don't have to prove yourself. So the internet is your resume, and if you don't have your resume online, how can you expect somebody to trust you with one of the largest purchases in their life? So focus on that. If you're brand new or if you just need to get restarted and things are slow, great news is you have the time. Start creating some content to convince folks online that you're the person they should work with.
Look, I want everybody to understand that if you're out there, if you're doing prospecting, you're out there doing active phone prospecting or whatever kind of prospecting you may be doing, social media is going to support and validate who you really are. So I want to give you a couple of quick tips. If you don't have who you are in your profile or your bio, you're an idiot. You need to be having the information that you are in real estate, your contact information, those kinds of things. Do not be a secret agent. And I see that all the time. And one other thing that I've heard a lot this past week calling agents is their voicemail. How about saying that what your name is and what you do? I mean, if you're not putting that on your phone, I mean, what are you trying to be secret? You don't want people to call you? I get a kick out of for sale by owners sometimes. They say, well, I'm on the do not call list. Oh, okay. So you don't want buyers to call you? Anyway, that's an aside. Hey, man, this has been a lot of fun. This has been fantastic. I hope whether people watch this live or have the recording to see it later, I sure hope they get some value from us. I got two things left for you, man. The first one is a question. First of all, there's a question. How do I help you grow your business?
Be available to me when I need you.
I'm there, man.
That's it. If you want to help somebody, people know they can always call me, and I'll make this offer to everybody who's watching. You can look me up, Kona Broker. You can book a meeting with me. I will spend 30 minutes with anybody to help them do a coaching session, just advice, pick my brain. I'm obligated. So many people have helped me get here that I'm obligated to give back. And that's why I love making connections with people like you, Dave, because if I come up with something and I'm like, hey, I should ask Dave about this, all you got to do is be available to me, and that's more valuable than anything else.
This is so cool. So a couple of quick things before I end. Number one, I did find you online. I saw you in a mastermind real quick talking about this buyer compensation issue. And you know what? I mean, you just got to be out there and doing the business and being visible and be available, like you said. And the other thing that's extremely cool is you have my favorite numbers in your website, and it's your area code, which is 808. As a date, that's probably the best date in the world. It's my birthday. So anyway, so that's really cool. I love to see. I just noticed that. Everybody, look, I'm going to be giving out, I'm going to be sending out the script that Dylan was talking about framing the conversation. So if you're interested in that script, please feel free to DM me. If you're on my list, you're going to be getting a link for that. And if you want that, just give me a call, or however you want to reach me. I'll be sending that out to everybody. Last but not least, man, I know you saw that when you were on that thing that I saw you talking to other people, you found out there was a hat involved to being on the broadcast. And here's the hat. It's coming out to you, man. Thank you, everybody. Next week, real quick. Next week, we have Jen Wayner coming on. Jen is just, an amazing firecracker of an agent. We're going to have such a great conversation with her. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Anything else from you, Dylan, that you want to talk about?
Thanks for having me, Dave. No, and if I can help with it, anybody, feel free to reach out.
Awesome, man. So just stay on for a minute as we close out. Everybody, we'll see you next week. God bless everybody and have a great, great weekend.